We are back on the Rational Boomer podcast. Hopefully your day is going well. This podcast is going to be yet another TikTok live, and I want to thank Ed for joining us yesterday. It's been a couple of weeks since he's been around. It's always good to hear from him. He's kind of the Rational Boomer podcast elder statesman. He knows a lot of stuff, and he knows how to explain it. That's why I enjoy having him on here. I've said this before. The key to doing a good podcast is to get people who are smarter than you on the show, and then you look like a genius. And Ed and Eric and Jace and Old Soul and Kristen and all the rest do that for me every time they show up, and I appreciate it immensely. Tonight, we're going to have a whole host of people coming on the show because that's what happens with TikTok Live. We typically have a panel, and then we ask people in the audience to come up and talk and make comments or ask questions or what have you. That's what this is all about, is getting people involved, hearing more than one voice. That's how you make changes in this world. You know, you've seen the protests recently, and the more people involved, the more people talking, the more people interested in making change, the better likelihood that we'll make that change. Now, I'm going to pull up our two moderators who typically sit on the panel too. They are TJ the plumber, and Rebecca will be up here in a minute. But TJ, I'm glad you're here, not only for the safety's sake of all the Trump-la-fucks that typically come through here, but I'm anxious to hear your thoughts on some of the things happened today. I know you were messing around on TikTok prior to doing this live. Is it fair to me to believe that you were out fucking with Trump-la-fucks? Is that what you were doing?
Yeah, I was. I was going in their lives and commenting. You know, because there's a bunch of them that are out there celebrating their big win today. You know, so.
Well, yeah, let's talk about that. The big win. Hi, Rebecca's here too. Welcome. Thank you for showing up and helping out.
How are you?
We're doing well. Just I know you're a little more shy when it comes to speaking out, but just jump on in. You got to do that with this fucking crowd.
You know, I always feel like walking over people though, and then I feel badly.
Yeah, well, you know, sometimes it happens. Whatever.
Will's not here yet.
Yeah, true. Will's not here yet, so we'll wait and see what happens with that. But, of course, we know what happened, and I think people have to understand more about what happened. The Supreme Court came back and said that they were going to limit these universal
Stays.
injunctions and stays, yeah. So what that means is when somebody's going to court over something Donald Trump has done, a federal judge or a district judge can say no, and then there's a national injunction. And what Donald Trump wants to do is make it so you have to go to each individual district or each individual state to get that finding, as opposed to just one judge being able to control what goes on over throughout the entire country. Now, people are listening to this and they're saying, okay, well, this is just Donald Trump trying to steal more power. And that's exactly what it is. And the courts, the Supreme Court, is willing to give away the power. For the life of me, I don't understand that. But this situation is a lot like the filibuster situation. Whether you like the universal injunctions or not depends on where you're sitting. For example, we didn't like the filibusters when we had control of the Senate. Now that we don't have control of the Senate, we do like filibusters, meaning the Democrats. And it's the same with this, because if you'll remember, during Joe Biden's term, he didn't like the universal injunctions either. And a good example would be the mifepristone thing. They took it to some judge in Amarillo, Texas, and that shut down the whole country. Now, had that not been the case, then they would have had to go through the whole process too. So this isn't just benefiting Donald Trump down the line. It will benefit the Democrats too. So it's not good news, but I don't think it's a huge win for the Republicans like they think. And I don't think it's the end of the world the way the Democrats are talking either.
No, and it doesn't stop class action lawsuits to stop it on a national level. So
Right.
even if they can't, like, it's kind of condensed to a region, like the district court has whatever region, they can stop it there, not on the national level. But
Right.
if a class action lawsuit comes out, which I expect Donald Trump's going to be buried in them coming up here, but it can stop it that way, and so that's a good thing. It's not over. It's not, he can't. He's not going to have free reign over everything, and I kind of think, like, isn't this the same bullshit that he did with Roe versus Wade?
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. It gets overturned in one district and then it's
Right.
nationally recognized. Yeah, it is the same thing. So as much as we don't like it now, when he's gone, it may be a plus for us if the Democrats are in control.
Absolutely, for sure.
And every time you hear something like this, people say, "Oh, the sky's falling, it's Armageddon, it's over with."
No.
There's only so much we can control. As long as Donald Trump is the president, we're going to be dealing with some shit. So we just have to acknowledge that and do the best we can and keep pushing forward and wait for that day when the Big Mac hits its target.
Exactly.
That's what we've got to wait for. I'm going to pull somebody up here that we all know. Go ahead.
And I see Old Soul is in here. And
Yeah, I was just going to pull her up.
do that. And just before I came on here, I saw it come across that a Canadian national died in ICE custody today.
Oh, wow. That's not going to be good.
No, a 49-year-old Canadian national that was detained by ICE died in detention. So
I think Mark Carney is going to have a problem with that.
he's going to have a big fucking problem with that, and I think there's going to be repercussions, because the report that I have been reading about is that these people have been begging, that are detained in these. Well, Old Soul knows better than anyone, that have been detained have been begging for medical assistance. There's been complications with pregnancies. People have cardiovascular emergencies, and they're not attending to these people's medical needs. That's going to be a big ass problem.
What do you think Trump's response is going to be? You think he's going to be like, "Oh well, he was Canadian, so he's an illegal immigrant"? Like, what is his response going to be?
I personally
Well, it's going to
think that we've
go ahead,
already-
Old Soul.
Hey everybody. I think that we've gotten a look at his response, because as you see, he came out today and he's bashing Canada and he's so pissed off at Canada. I think he's already gotten that phone call. I think that they gave him respect to kind of like try to talk to him about what's going on. And I think we're seeing that in public with him lashing out at Canada.
Oh, you think his tariff lash today on Truth Social was backed by this?
I don't
Yeah,
think he
and-
knows about it. I don't think he
there's
knows
some-
about it.
And then there was some women who were from Canada who were detained that were talking about the multiple strip searches that they had to do in there. So I think some of this stuff, if he doesn't know, Stephen Miller knows about it for sure.
Well, and if he does know about it, this is standard fare for Donald Trump. If somebody has something on Donald Trump, he spins it. Well, you're worse because you did this, so we can forget about the egregious act. But I don't know. Does this even elevate to the level of a international incident? I mean, when somebody from your country goes to another country and they're held in detention and they die, that's pretty serious shit.
Yes, 100%.
But did you see the guy that was turned away? Remember I told you the first thing they kept doing was asking for my phone, asking for my phone, asking for my phone. And I refused to do it. But there was a guy that, I can't remember the country, but because he had that picture of JD Vance on his phone, they turned him around, like they deported him because he had a picture of JD Vance bald and wide-eyed, weird looking.
Right.
Kind of chubby looking. Yeah.
Yeah.
Old
So
Soul.
they're taking phones for a reason. They really, really are.
Old Soul, can I ask you a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
So do you have an Android phone or an iPhone?
I have an Android phone.
Okay. Do you use the facial recognition unlock?
No.
No.
No,
Okay.
I don't use the facial recognition, and I don't use the thumbprint. I use passcode only. And then it's like a passcode I have to enter in, and then there's a pattern that I have to enter in on top
Y-
of that.
Yeah. Okay. So you do that divisively, I imagine.
Yeah, yeah, we have to, because if
R-
not, they'll go on your phone.
Right. Okay. That's what I wanted to know.
Yeah, the lady that had the stillborn in there, she said that she was shackled. She said that she knew she was in labor. She was begging for help. They told her no. And remember when I was telling you guys how we had to sleep on the floors? There's like a bunch of people in the room.
Yeah.
She was saying that she was pregnant. She had to sleep on the floor because there was nowhere else for her to sleep. They only gave
Wow.
us they gave us like sandwiches that when I was there, but I was on there on like two meals. The first one and the second was a sandwich. The first one I bit into it, but the meat was like it tastes like spoiled. I don't know how to explain it. Like spoiled meat is what it tasted like. And she was saying how her food was inedible, and she couldn't eat it, and she was starving. But at the same time, it's like if I do eat this, what's in it, and I'm pregnant. But she ended up having a stillborn while she was on the freaking floor. And then they disposed of the stillborn and sent her to Guatemala.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what's going on is absolutely ridiculous. The interesting thing about it, also, I don't know if you know this, that sandwich with the spoiled meat and the stale bread, that came directly from one of Donald Trump's five-star hotels restaurants. That's the kind of shit he serves.
It came from Trump Hotel Las Vegas.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
He would have had his bed
Fresh.
bugs too. He would have had his bed
Now,
bugs too, but there's no beds. You're just on the
Made by
floor.
Trump University culinary students.
yeah. So, Old Soul, TJ was talking about the situation with Canada and how people aren't getting the medications they need for whatever maladies they have. Did you notice
Yeah.
that too when you were locked down, that there were people that maybe had diabetes or other issues and they were just not getting the medication they needed to survive?
Yeah, I said that on the podcast. If you go in there and you need medication, you're not gonna get it. And so there was like a wall that like separated, like where they were checking people in, women on one side, men on another side. And there was a
Right.
man who was like telling them that he needed his heart medication. They were telling him he's being dramatic. And then they was like, well, we don't know what type of pill that is. So I don't know if he was like telling them where it was in his clothing. And then somebody else was like, you're being dramatic, get back in line. And then the
Yeah.
women where I worked, they needed medication. One of them was diabetic, and they do not give you medication if you go in there. Inhalers, diabetic medication. The guy was hearing talking about his heart medication. You don't get none of that. You're just in there.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to pull somebody up we haven't heard from for a little while, but it's always a pleasure to hear from him. Mr. Suave de Boner. Can I just call you de Boner? I like that one.
Call me about whatever you want. It really doesn't matter to me.
I appreciate that. What's on your mind?
Well, gee whiz. I just wonder, it's like I saw all the veterans that were busted up in the Capitol the other day.
Oh,
All the guys
Yeah.
in the wheelchairs.
Yeah, they
yeah.
Old soul, did you happen to run into any veterans while you were in the Who's Gal there?
Not that I'm aware of. On our side, and this was someone in the comment section asked me this about like they separated the women from the men. However, it depended on who was there doing shift change, and I wasn't there long enough to know who was on, when they were on, and when they were off. But there weren't that many women there, so even though they separated men from women, you could still come in and your shift search would be by a man. And I figured out it's just whoever is on shift, whether it's a man or a woman. So
Wow.
there weren't any female veterans there, but I don't know about the male side of it.
didn't they look tough zip tying all those veterans in wheelchairs? Did they look? That
Oh,
really
God,
made them
that
look
was
tough.
so ridiculous. It's like, this is like third class, third grade theater.
Yeah. I don't know
Yeah.
how Republican voters are seeing that and don't have a problem with it. or how they
Well, there.
feel like this could never affect them, when these are people from all over who just don't want their insurance taken away. There's no red or blue
I,
state on it.
Yeah, there are some that are affected by it, but understand there's a smaller percentage, a faction of people that enjoy this. They enjoy when other people are hurt or injured, and they don't cry and whine about it until they get hit themselves. And those people, what I will say to those people, it's coming. You'll get yours, and then you'll whine and cry about it, and there won't be any sympathy for you.
Yeah, I don't understand. I mean, I guess they just think that like if they're protesting or if they're, it doesn't matter if you're a veteran, it doesn't matter if you're an old white man, it doesn't matter if you're in a wheelchair, you're the fucking enemy because you're on the wrong side of them. It's just such
Right.
disgusting.
It is pretty frustrating. Old soul, I have to imagine that maybe not while you were on lockdown, but in some of your other forays into protesting, you run into your share of veterans.
Yeah, so they're the ones who started to try to help the pregnant women who are in the states. I don't know if
Right.
anybody knows this or not, but Ron DeSantis just gave a tour in Florida of, I guess the only way you could describe them is concentration camps that he's building up. And he's
Yeah.
like, doing an interview showing the facilities and, oh, this is going to be good. This is where the staff eats. This is where we're going to do laundry. And I promise you how good he's trying to make it sound. It's not going to be like that when they're in there. Because
Yeah.
it's going to be for profit. So they're going to be making their money and they are going to cut costs at every single corner that they can. That's exactly what that's leading to.
Are they using them to farm the fields?
I'm sorry, say that again, Rebecca?
Are they going to use them to farm the fields?
I think that at this point they're going to have to because it's hurting that state. And yeah,
I think what they were going to do from the beginning, deport all the immigrants and then have like basic like work camps and then send them all out there to farm the fields.
yeah, I think they are going to turn into work camps. And I think right now Texas is building theirs, even though they're not as bold as Ron DeSantis to give tours. But they're building theirs right now as well. And I think Louisiana too. And that's where some of the immigrants are being shipped to. Pregnant
I have a
women.
question for all of you and see what you think. I mean, none of us really know, but I'm curious as to what you think. When we hear about what's going on in these detention centers, or for all intents and purposes, concentration camps, what's going on in those concentration camps, as Old Soul can attest to, she was there. This stuff is illegal. And granted, with the DOJ the way it is now, they're not going to do anything about it. But when this all comes to an end and Pam Bondi is doing whatever she's doing and Donald Trump is no longer in power, there's a lot of people from Tom Homan all the way down that have committed crimes. Do we see them held accountable for the shit they've done to American citizens and immigrants? I mean, like we've talked about, this is like a third world country and how they're treating people, like El Salvador or the mustache guy. This is really bad shit, and they're treating people horribly. That should not happen in this country. Is there any accountability when this is all said and done? What do you think?
I believe that there will be. When there's a shift of power, and the committees are controlled by the Democrats, and there's a Democratic president, which, based upon what's going on in this country, there's no way that's not going to happen in 28. So it's going to be, honestly, because of how big and the scope of what's happening, it's going to be like the second version of the Nuremberg trials.
I keep hearing that, and I hope that's true. I just don't know if that's feasible or not, but I hope that's true. It's certainly deserving. These people are deserving of those kinds of tribunals or even trials. They need to be taken to task. They need to be held accountable. You don't just get to do whatever the fuck you want to do to other American citizens, and that's exactly what's happening.
I think they're under the pretense that they think that Donald Trump is telling them that, oh, you can do whatever you want and I'll protect you. But when Donald Trump falls, which he will, he's not going to pardon anyone. He's not going to help anyone because it's like we've talked about 100 times on this live and on the podcast and everything else. Donald Trump is transactional. If he's not
Right.
getting anything out of it, he doesn't give a shit. So all these people are banking on the idea that Donald Trump's going to help them and protect them before and pardon, give them pardons before he leaves office. He's not going to do any of those things.
Well, not to mention that if the Republicans have anything to do with his downfall, he's going to be against.
He's
everything.
out. Yeah, he's 100% out.
Somebody
Just
said
that,
something in the somebody
really
said
did
something in the comments. They said the administration is never going to be held accountable, and I will agree with you there. We're not talking about when they're the administration; it's when they're no longer the
done.
administration. Then that's a different story.
And even people have to remember there are federal pardons, but they're not going to get pardoned on a state level. And what they're doing inside
Right.
of these states, in particular these blue states, I think the reason that you're not seeing anything happening right now is because these governors, they understand it. What's the point right now? Wait until he's out and then go after them. And I think that, especially when you have somebody like Newsom, Pritzker, trust me, these people are not going to get away with this. They're just not going to.
Right.
We're so embroiled in court cases against like all his little bullshit shit and his big bullshit shit. Like there's no time for us to do anything like that now. Like we have to fight all these court cases just to get freaking like people that belong in this country to stay here. It's just ridiculous, the court cases that are going on.
No,
And-
and
and
with what
so-
the Supreme Court's doing now, it's like that's going to be another tough road.
Mhm.
Yeah. And somebody in the chat said something
So,
that,
guys, I'll see you later. Have a good
okay,
night.
All right, thank you, Mr. Silver.
I think that with this ruling, it depends on how you look at it. Because this ruling was like, when it came to Biden trying to do something good, like student debt relief, when it came to Mr. Pristone, they used this law against Biden. And so the next Democrat that gets into office is like, hey, thank you for this great gift because now I get to do this because the Supreme Court ruled on it. And I really
Right.
do hope whoever is running, they come out and they actually speak this and let the people know that they will use this power that they've been given under the Trump administration. I want them to say that. I want them to talk about Supreme Court reform and not be afraid to do so.
right.
Yeah, absolutely. So, somebody in the comments, Debbie Deb says, "Why would you think that Democrats are somewhat weak?" And I'm a Democrat. Yes, they are weak. They are weak. And a perfect example of that is what we saw in New York when that Democrat, that young guy, that Muslim guy that won the primary. The Republicans are losing their shit. First of all, he's brown. Second of all, he's Muslims. Third of all, he's young. And he's trying to he's saying that he wants to give back to the middle class. And I saw him interviewed, and what he said he thought was so ironic why the Republicans hate him so much, because he's just saying the same things Donald Trump said he was going to do, except Donald Trump didn't come through with it. Republicans just don't like him. They're doing exactly what I thought they'd do. Somebody kind of rises above a little bit, they go on the attack. But I'm not worried about that. I expected that. It's the Democrats that are going after him. And people have to understand why the Democrats are going after him and why the Republicans are going after him. It's not as much about partisanship. It's about money. Anytime somebody steps up and wants to give back to the middle class, that's when the money people start getting pissed. And unfortunately, we have some people that are controlled by money in the Democratic Party too. So what I would say to the people that are going to be the majority of the electorate in 2028, millennials and Gen Zs, vote out all old people, vote in young people. Get people who represent you, and life will be better for you.
And Democrats who are willing to speak out. I don't know if you guys have heard this or not, but there's been this big push for Mandani's visa to be revoked and for him to be deported. And I'm like, okay, I need to hear like Democrats in unison speaking out against it. So sometimes, even though it does seem performative, like people think what Gavin Newsom is doing is performative, it could be, but people need to see and hear you doing something, even if we don't think that it's going to be a battle that you can win, it kind of lights a fire under us and it motivates us to like keep pushing. But when we just kind of like see it falling on deaf ears, that's where that helplessness comes from, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm going to pull somebody in here. Seal Club is his name. I don't know what that means necessarily, but Seal Club, how
How's
you
it going?
doing? What's on your mind? Good.
Well, I'm here in Flint. I studied at the University of Michigan. I studied sociology and I studied criminal justice. And you started talking about those camps, and it's wild to me because it started clicking with me that there's two things that's happening as far as I see it. First is they're copying the pink prisons down in Arizona. I don't know if you guys heard about those. They had 10
Yeah.
prisons and they feed them like sandwiches.
Yep.
They're basically copying that. But the problem that Trump doesn't understand is there's something called structural functionalism, where basically the society is a body. And if Trump is the metaphorical head as the leader, he's stabbing himself in the legs doing all this crazy shit. And
Yeah.
sociologically, it's never going to work out. It's going to lead to conflict theory. And that's where people are going to start getting into the streets and having issues. So it's really just, it's tough for me to see as somebody who's young, educated in the subject, to hear you talk about that. And as I happen to also be disabled. So going through all of this stuff, I felt like, I'm sitting at the bank waiting to get my money, and Elon Musk is in the back tellering away. So it's been
Right.
it's been a thing with Trump, and I really wanted to say, Old Soul, your story was incredibly moving. The story you told me, or you told all of us about the young lady who had the baby, that was mind blowing. And I just wanted to tell you, as somebody who studied this and studied sociology, that's not supposed to happen at all. It's studying criminal justice. This is not the way that they should be treating people. They should be giving them the medication. I think I saw somebody talking in the comments about how much their money they're making per day for these immigrants.
Yeah.
When I was studying, regular prisoners make I think it's $452 a day from the government. So why are these people being given more money to collect other people? It seems like it's the prison industrial complex on steroids.
It really is. It really is.
I have to say, ACL, that I was just really happy that Boomer was he was anxious to have me on, but also let me expose what's been happening in there, because there are people who are afraid to do that and to speak up about it. So I was happy to have Boomer in my corner, all right, let's go. So that was.
And the thing is that Old Soul was lucky in that situation, in the sense that she had support behind her. She had lawyers. She had people to help her, people to get her. A lot of people do not have any of that.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's so much worse for them.
Well, and she was a citizen too, so
Yeah.
they could only go so far with her because she was a citizen, but she also had the savvy to know how to handle the situation.
Which makes it a bigger crime, by the way.
And
Yeah,
the
yeah, it
fact
really
that-
does.
The fact that you have this story is incredible. Not to mention that it not only is it something that you should, I don't know if you have or haven't called your congressperson, but they're on a first name basis with me in my office locally.
Good.
But that's something that I would share with your congressperson, because they're going to want to sit down with you and talk to you, because I've talked to them about my disability, and while Doge was going through the Social Security stuff, and Alyssa Scotkin's office wanted to sit down with me and talk with me, and we've just been trying to work it out. But you should definitely reach out to whatever your local congressperson is, because they're going to want to sit down and hear that story, because that's going to be incredibly powerful once we hit the midterms, because we need stories like that to get out so that we can have the change that we all hope is going to happen.
That's the story that needs to be testified in front of Congress.
Yeah.
I didn't leave without being debriefed. So when I was in California, I couldn't leave until they debriefed me. They had questions and all of that stuff. But I think it's a good point, though, that I haven't really been able to talk to anyone in my home state. So that's just a good idea.
You need
The,
to.
the one thing I will say, and Old Soul and I were talking about this, and I was trying to determine why they said this, but they basically said to Old Soul, probably don't want to talk about this. It could be a little dangerous out there. And of course, Old Soul said, fuck that. I'm talking soon as I get out the door.
Yeah.
And that's what you did.
Right.
But there, that's the problem. These bullies are doing these things, these horrific things, these atrocities, and then the people on our side want you to keep quiet to keep you safe, and it'll never get fixed unless people start talking about it.
And that's all the more reason why it needs to be talked about. And that's why, your Democratic legislators in your state should be aware so that can be brought to the forefront to show them that they're flagrantly violating people's civil rights, number one. And number two, they're committing human rights violations against the people who are detained. That needs to be known on a national level.
Old Soul,
Yeah.
have you thought about sitting down? I know that there's somebody like Don Lemon also takes people from TikTok, and he does a lot of good stuff like that. You might actually be able to get a hold of him through TikTok and sit down with him. I'm sure somebody like him would want to sit down with you, and that would give your story some legs and some fire, and that would not only stop the horrible atrocities that are happening there, but also bring light to who should really be, running things in our country.
The one thing I will say,
Really good idea.
the one thing I would say, Old Soul, if you do this, because I know how you do shit, and I feel like kind of a second father to you. If you do this, you're not on social media for a very good reason. You're not
That's
on social
true.
media because you don't want to, expose yourself to all that stuff. If you do talk to somebody like a Don Lemon or something like that, I would try to kind of protect your anonymity to a certain extent. I know you're not really like that, being in shadows and changing your voice. You don't have to do that, but there's no reason to give them a target, because if you're on a level at that level, there is going to be some dumb fucks making claims and making threats and that sort of thing.
Well, do what these dumb fucks do and wear a mask.
Yeah, you could do that.
That's not a bad
Could
idea.
do that. I got it. I got it from Ice Amazon,
Right.
and yeah. Well, a Seal Club. Thank you very much. That is actually a very
Thank you
good
guys for having me.
suggestion to Old Soul, and I got to tell you, you got to be careful when you give Old Soul an idea, because she'll just fucking run with it. I guarantee you, she'll run with it. So thank you very much for coming on. Feel free to come back anytime. We like hearing about your story too, because obviously you're an activist, and obviously you're being proactive in trying to do some good as a young man in this country.
I appreciate you guys, and I appreciate what you're doing. Thank you guys for the time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good one.
I love hearing that, when young people are angry enough to step up and do some shit, talk some shit.
Speaking
best
of
to
young
him.
people, I sent this to you, Boomer, before I came on about Jerry Connolly. I did not know
Yeah.
this until Keith did a clip on it. So Jerry Connolly, a Democrat in Virginia, he died. They didn't announce it. They didn't tell anybody. He was just dead. So then all of a sudden, the Democrat voters in Virginia, they get an email. And the email is saying that, he's not running for another term and to vote for his chief of staff. Keep in mind, he is dead when they get this email. Then after that, on his social media account, he's dead. On his social media account, if there's a post of him and like standing next to his chief of staff and endorsing him, the man is
Wow.
dead. So when Boomer posted that video about the Democrats as well as the Republicans with this old guard crap, like, we're not worried about the Republicans, they're gonna do what they do, but when it comes to Democrats and what they are doing, just not letting go of power, this is a perfect example of why Boomer was right. So anybody that was questioning that video, we need people with experience, young people don't really know anything. This man died in office and they did not tell us that he was dead. And they're getting emails.
Well,
he's not running.
There was a
until-
report. There was a report when he died, but they're assuming a lot of people didn't hear it. I mean, I heard it.
I didn't.
When it came across, I did do a video on that when he died, basically pointing out that this is what happens when you put old people in a position
Yeah.
and don't put the young person in. But the good news about the oversight committee in the House, Jasmine Crockett dropped out, but Robert Garcia is now the ranking member, and he's a younger Hispanic guy. So I'm relatively pleased with him because he's pretty in your face and loud too, and pushing back against the Republicans. So at least we got a good younger person in the oversight committee.
Yeah, that
Do you
that
think
story.
they did that to save face because of that stunt that they pulled or tried to pull with Connolly?
It could be. It could be. I mean, one of the things is there are people that are informed in this world, and there's a lot more that are uninformed. They only read the taglines or the headlines or clickbait or whatever. I knew Jerry Conley died. That's why I knew that Jasmine Crockett was looking to run for it. But it's amazing they haven't talked about it much. You would think a representative dies and it'd be bigger in the news, and clearly they're trying to. I mean, it's like if something happened to our president, we might not hear about it for 2 days because they're trying to figure out how to game this situation best they can. And it wouldn't surprise me that the Democrats were doing the same thing.
That story's almost as fucked up as that story about the woman legislator. I think she was from Texas. That was in they couldn't find her, and she was in the dementia unit of that.
Yeah.
That's like equally as fucked up. I mean, that's crazy.
Yep.
It is. It tells you how much power means to these people and how little we mean to them.
Right.
I didn't ask, but I was like hoping that, it wouldn't be right if his family agreed to it, but to me it would be like a double whammy if they didn't agree to it and Republicans just did it. But then at the same time, maybe his family thought he wouldn't want a Republican in that seat, so they went along with it. They shouldn't be that old and that sick and still sitting in Congress, and that's crazy. But yeah,
absolutely not. I'm pulling somebody else up here. I don't know if I'm pronouncing this properly. Angelots.
Angela. It's Angela.
Angelot.
My name is Angie. I'm a nurse.
Okay. You're a lot. Is that why you say that?
I mean, I can be.
Okay. The only reason I say that is because I've been suggested that I'm a lot and my granddaughter's a lot, and together we're really a fucking lot.
I watch you all the time, sir, and thank you so much for all of your contribution to show people the insanity that is going on.
Well, I appreciate it very much, and people like you warm my heart because I've got family members that are tired of listening to my shit. So I'm glad there's somebody out there that wants to hear it.
Same. And, the only thing I want to point out is I think that society as a whole in America, in the United States is the country, America is the continent.
Right.
I don't think people understand what is about to hit. I just don't in healthcare. The amount of boomers they're about to be involved in home health care, hospitalizations, in skilled nursing facilities, we call them SNFs. People do not understand what is coming. Right now, my dad is in a long-term health care facility because he kept falling, and he is a veteran. Right now, our VA in the entire Northwest is putting a hold on these services. So you can't get home health to take care of your elderly veteran, like my dad. You can't do that right now. Everything is on hold.
Right.
And
well, you're absolutely right. That's going to hit hard. I'm a baby boomer, but I'm a very young baby boomer, and I'm 65. So most baby boomers are older or way older than I am,
well, my dad's
meaning
73.
they're at that stage. Yeah, there you go.
My dad's 73, dude. And sorry, I just say dude. It's just a general reference. I don't mean anything by it. But
I do it all the time. I don't ever apologize for that
Right.
shit, dude.
Well,
I call
I'm
my
just
granddaughter
saying,
dude, and she yells at me.
right? Oh my gosh, people just get so pissed, and I'm like, get over yourself. But what I'm
Yeah.
saying is, like, I live in a very red state. I live in the state of Idaho. Not only can we not get decent mental health care, I've had all 3 of my siblings diagnosed with schizophrenia in my
Oh,
lifetime.
wow.
I watched my mom and took care of her for 5 years with Parkinson's disease. It is going to get harder, and people do not understand this. There are not enough long-term health care facilities. There is not enough. There's no shortage of nursing, and I want to make that clear. There's plenty of us nursing. There are plenty nurses like me. We're just tired. We're just tired of dealing with the CEOs and the corporations that run these facilities.
Yep, because they screw you.
They don't give 2 shits about
Yeah.
you. It
Yep.
reminds me, I don't know, I'm a Star Trek fan, and I always say, you're like Ferengis. All you care about is profit.
Oh God, we
That's
need
all you care about is a fucking profit. Sorry. I'm very passionate about this stuff. My dad is literally, he's not actively dying, but he's declining severely.
Hey,
And to get into the nearest VA home, there's like a 9-month waiting list
wow.
Wow.
just to fill out an RFS form or a GEC form. I don't know how many veterans are in this live, but in the entire Northwest, this is Walla Walla. This is where we are. I'm in Idaho, but the nearest VA anything is in Walla Walla, Washington.
Mm-hmm.
It is 3 to 5 months before they can even process a GEC form or an RFS form.
Damn.
And it's just messed up. People do not realize there are not enough nurses because we're tired of the shit. We're tired of it. We're tired of getting the shit kicked out of us by whatever.
Out during COVID, and then after
Oh my
COVID,
God.
they
Yep.
treated like
So
crap.
much abuse, dude.
Yep.
So much abuse.
I mean,
And
a lot of
Yeah.
nurses hung through, and the nurses that hung through COVID hung through for the extra hours, and then left.
Mm-hmm. And what I'm saying is society as a whole, I don't care what state you're in. I really don't. The United States as a whole, they are not prepared of what is coming. As
Right.
far as like the boomer population, there are a lot of people that are requiring to get this care and it's not available. So therefore, they're going to lose their house, their home,
Yep.
everything they have paid into just to stay afloat or just to get a basic care anything.
It's a scheme. It's totally
It's a Ponzi
corrupt.
scheme, dude.
Yep.
It truly is. You're right. It is a scheme. None of these corporations that own these facilities give a fuck about you. This is why I love George Carlin. They don't give a fuck about you. It's a big club, and you ain't in it.
Yeah,
And,
pretty much.
And,
That
Ange,
is a fact.
I'm gonna go out on a limb here and guess that you're a Gen Xer.
I am. I very
I
much
figured.
am. I am 48 years old, and I've been in healthcare for most of my adult life. I've only seen it get worse. Not only for the healthcare workers, but for our patients. Damn it! I'm a wound care nurse right
I have
now.
one friend who's a nurse that has not given up on the system yet, and the only reason she hasn't given up on the system is because she does drug addiction. Like she's
I'm a wound care nurse currently.
Oh my
Most of our
God.
patients are
geez.
geriatric and have diabetes, right? I do wound vac after wound vac.
That's poor.
I have to waste hours of my life talking to insurance companies. Like I had a patient that has this insulin pump, right? And that insulin pump, for instance, is only recommended for Humalog and Novolog. It can't have any other insulin. So then this insurance company denies them that, and they're like, we want to suggest this insulin. Sorry, bitch. That's contraindicated for that pump.
Right.
And
Yeah.
we have to fight all the time. Like I've wasted hours of my life with prior authorizations.
And can you
And
let them know as well that a lot of the seniors, when they are skipping days so that they can stretch out their diabetic medications, how that can lead to
oh yeah, I've
bleeding and that
had
type of
actual
thing, and they end
friends
in
I grew up
wheelchair?
with in high school die because they could not afford their insulin. They had to ration it out, and they fucking died
Right.
doing that. They died doing that.
And
When you know something like that, and people makes a statement, "This is the greatest country in the world," I beg
It's
to differ.
not. Fucking when?
right.
Yeah.
When was it ever great? When was it ever great? That is my question.
According to
When you
Trump, in
have
the late
CEOs,
1700s, early 1800s.
well, when you
Yeah, the
have
18.
CEOs
Or during
determining your
slavery.
health care, that's bullshit. Somebody that's never set foot in a fucking doctor's office, let alone taking care of that patient, and they're telling you, oh my God, you should do this. Bitch, now. Now. And that's
Right.
what's happening. They don't fucking care about you. Sorry about my F words, but I'm just pissed off. I talk
That's
like a
encouraged
sailor.
here.
Everybody that knows me knows this. People need to get a grip. They do not
Yeah.
understand what is coming to them. They truly don't. And as far as their loved ones, like their fathers, their mothers, like I quit nursing to take care of my mom. She had Parkinson's disease, and I took care of her for 4.5 fucking years, right? And the only
Yeah.
reason I'm in the state of Idaho that Medicaid can't take our house is because I kept my mom out of a nursing home for 2 years.
Wow.
At least 2 years. Every state's different as far as exemptions, but people really, really need to stop taking the word of these corporations because
Absolutely.
they don't fucking care about you.
They don't care about you. They don't care about patients.
No, they don't. It's all profit. That's why
Yep.
I say Ferengi, because I'm a Star Trek fan, and that's just the way. It's like the evil imperialism in Star Wars as well. They don't give a shit. They just don't.
They don't.
We
And
care.
they
I
want
care.
you to, those living facilities want you to want to own your house. Want to own
Yes.
Yep.
And it's really weird because then they'll just sit there and let that house stay vacant, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
They could be housing the homeless. Like I've had all 3 of my siblings diagnosed with schizophrenia in my lifetime, bro. My mom with Parkinson's. I cannot tell you the shit that goes down here in my county in Idaho. It is absolutely sad. You know, they say, oh, well, your parents gave them access to a refrigerator, therefore they're not gravely disabled. What the fuck does that say in the grave disability clause? It doesn't say none of that shit. They use these things to work against you. They want your property. They want your home because it's an asset for them. And there's not enough people because, I work 5 days a week. I've done this 31 years of my life with my family. And it doesn't matter. I'm a registered nurse. It doesn't matter. They still argue with me how sick my fucking family isn't. That's what pisses me off.
Right.
Yeah. It's unfucking believable. Well, and Angie, I'm going to let you go. I'm going to get some other people up here. I will just state this now that we've gotten to know you a little bit. You are a lot, but that's cool because we're all a lot. And keep going. Fucking A, you know?
Well, we have to, man.
And you know
Who's
what?
going to do it?
And I'll say this. I'm a plumber, and I've worked in hospitals, okay?
Yeah.
And I've dealt with some really nasty shit in hospitals. And I'm not anywhere near as tough as a wound care nurse. Like that, I've been in there and seen what's going on with that shit. You have to be the toughest nurse ever to be a wound care nurse. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, really any nurse, psych nurse, wound care nurse, med surg especially, surgical nurse, we are so undervalued. and we take so much abuse. Like, I can't tell you, I was in long-term healthcare before I became a full-on wound care nurse. I can't tell you how many times I've been beaten the shit out of by a dementia patient or by any other
Wow.
patient. You know,
Yeah,
and the
I can't
dementia
imagine.
patients, they can't help it.
Right.
They're just reacting at their mind level, right? But
Right.
and I remember working. Oh shit! It was before I was a nurse. I'm sorry. I would like to tell this story before I go or
Sure.
whatever.
Sure. Go ahead.
So
Go
I
ahead.
was working in an assisted living complex, and there was this person. They had dementia. They should never have been admitted there, by the way. So one day they were like, "Oh shit, this is my room," and it was a different resident's room, and they were breaking down the door, trying to break down the door to get in this other person's room because they didn't recognize that was not their room. They tried to beat the living shit out of me, dude. I was like wax on, wax off, Jackie Chan, fucking Karate Kid shit, right? And I called my administrator and told them what was happening, and they're like, call the police. I'm not going to call the police so they get fucking tased and tackled to the ground. I'm not doing none of that shit. So
No.
technically, I did break the law. What I did was I had my counterpart go in there, and she was taking the blows. I was like, I'll be right back. I went and got their walker. It was one of the ones they can sit down on, right?
Right.
And I went behind them. I grabbed their hips, and I put them in that freaking walker, and I just went really fast backwards down the hallway.
Wow.
And they continued to try to beat the crap out of me in the elevator and shit to get them up in their room, and then they recognized the room. And I could tell they were instantly sorry for
Right.
what they had done. Why would I call the cops?
Right. Well,
I
wouldn't
mean,
you?
I don't want to get the shit kicked out of me. And god dang, like she hit me with a couple of blows. I was
Right.
like, damn.
And the biggest problem is that hospital systems purposefully are woefully understaffed with nurses.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and then they ask you like, what could you have done differently? I guess I could have called the cops and had them tased and shit, but I don't really want to do that because it's not their fault. You know,
Yeah.
it really is not their fault.
We had a story in Minnesota here in a nursing home. It didn't involve a nurse getting hurt, but there was a guy who was a well-known pro wrestler around this area. In fact, I live in his hometown where he was born and raised. But his name was Vern Gagne, and he was not only the champion, but he owned the AWA promotion here before the old WWE. But he got elderly and he got dementia, and he was put in a dementia unit. Now he was with other men that were in the same situation with dementia. Well, Vern Gagne got in an argument with another guy that had dementia. Vern Gagne picked him up, body slammed him, and killed this 90-year-old guy in the process. And what do you do with that? There's nothing you can do.
Well, I mean, he has every right to defend himself. I mean,
Well, I don't know if he was. I know all I know is he's a bigger guy, and he picked a guy up and body slammed him, and that was it. I mean, that would probably kill me, let alone a guy who's 80, 90
Right?
years old.
yeah.
My father died of Alzheimer's a couple years ago, and he got violent at the end, and it was like a quick transition. And what happened? My mom and him were out for a walk, and they came back home, and he like literally like just snapped and pinned her down on the couch and was like trying to choke her. Like, and my mom eventually got away and like called the police, and it was. And this is like they were together for 52 years. Like,
Yeah.
they were like the
It's
loves
so
of each other's
brutal.
lives. Like, there's no doubt about that. Like, nobody would dispute the fact that like this was not my dad.
Yeah.
And he called the
Dementia
police.
does not give a shit.
No, it doesn't. It totally doesn't. And he, when he became violent, they found out that he only became violent because he had an infection that swelled his brain, and like made basically like the infection that when it swallowed his brain made him violent.
Yeah.
It was a struggle for.
Well, infection will do that. People don't understand. Like I've been more beat the crap out of by some beautiful little old lady. Like they're the most dangerous for me in my experience. Like they're the sweetest, blah blah blah. But when you trigger something in them, whatever that may be, you might even not even know what triggered them. They will beat the crap out of you.
Angela, I'm going to drop you off. You're getting a lot of static in there, and I'm having trouble hearing you. But thank you so much for coming on. It might be TJ too. TJ's known for making a lot of fucking noise.
I don't think that's me.
Okay.
Yeah, it was TJ.
Okay. Anyway, I'm going to move on, and we're going to talk to some other people. But Angie, feel free to come back anytime.
Stay here and just listen. I can mute myself.
Okay, you can do that if you want.
I just
Last person.
I wanted to piggyback off Ange from an administrative standpoint because you know where I work, but not most people don't. That's a good thing. But for like younger people who are watching this happen with older people, you have to think that you're going to be old one day. So is your parents and grandparents. But also, most of you are on your parents' insurance right now until you're 26. So if you're 24, you're 25, pretty soon your insurance company guaranteed they are going to kick you off of your parents' insurance. And all you have to do is look at the price of your inhaler or your insulin or anything like that. Just look at the price of it without your insurance, and that's how much you are going to be paying. So this is not just an elder person's fight. This is an all of us fight. So even though you don't see it right now, you do have to think at 26, you're getting kicked off. Straight
Absolutely.
up. Because they're really healthy. Look at the price.
He was my age and died because he was trying to conserve his insulin.
Yeah, and it's just kind of like when you think about this at 24, 25, you have to start looking at being kicked off of your parents' insurance and these cuts to Medicaid. If you're in college or in school or you're working part-time, Medicaid is not going to be an option for you. So all you have to do is just look at your insurance, what the premiums are going to be. First of all, the premiums are going to knock you on your butt. But also how much a doctor's office visit is, $200-$300 just for an annual visit, and your medications without your insurance. It's crazy. So it's not just an elder issue. It's all
and
of our issues.
It doesn't even cover labs. Any labs you might need, or any colonoscopies, or mammograms, or anything like that. I work in a clinic. That's what I do all day, every day. And it's just genetics testing. Forget it. Try to get an insurance company to cover that. They won't even do it.
Nope.
Absolutely. I'm going to pull somebody
here too. So that's all I wanted to say.
I'm going to pull somebody else up here. Here's somebody we know very well, who's with us frequently. He is a Gen Z. He's in California, headed to Canada at some point. Jay, what's happening?
Well, first of all, hi everybody. The resident troublemakers in the house.
Yeah, there we go. What's up?
It's true. I've almost gotten one of TJ's lives taken down because of a joke I told once.
Yeah, jokes aren't your forte. You're a smart kid. You got a lot of good insights. Jokes are not your forte. Go ahead.
Yeah. First of all, I have a hard limit on what I can look at for the SCOTUS thing because of the advice that Park Rose Permaculture gave, which is set yourself a limit on the amount of news that you read on a specific issue every day. Don't just give up on it, but do set yourself like a daily limit where after a certain point you go, all right, I'm done with this shit. And I'm past that limit for mine. All I'm going to say is, fuck you, SCOTUS.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to say to that. Also, and I have a really serious question. This is mostly for you, Mike, but for anyone else who can answer it. What the flying fuck is going on with Abe Gurko? Because
Mike would know better than anybody.
Yeah,
I haven't talked to him for a while. Yeah, but I don't know. I haven't talked to Abe lately. I maybe reach out to him. Are you talking about the mayoral thing in New York?
Yeah.
How he's kind of saying, "Go vote for Eric Adams." Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't
'cause-
know. I saw him do that, and I felt like reaching out to him and say, "What the fuck are you doing?" But he's from New York. I like Abe. Abe's a smart guy. We don't always agree on stuff because we look at things differently. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe I can get a hold of Abe and have him on the show and see how that goes.
Yeah, because I saw the results of that mayoral primary where Zoran Mamdani came in and just cleaned fucking house. I mean, 43 to 36, that is not close.
No.
And then Abe Gurko looks at that and goes, oh, no, we can't vote for the guy who won with almost half the vote. We got to go vote for crooked-ass Eric Adams, who went full Trump-la-fuck. What the hell? I mean...
Yeah, I couldn't believe that. Here's what you have to understand about Abe, and I'm not talking out of school here. Abe is a smart guy. He lives in California. He's from New York originally. He's a little older than me, so he's closer to 70. He's always been in kind of entertainment all of his life, and he happens to be gay. We've talked about it many times. I don't know what his point of view on this is. Since I've never lived in New York, maybe I'm missing something, but I thought it was very weird when I heard him say that.
Yeah, like, not even vote for Chris Silua or whatever his name was, but Andrew Cuomo?
Yeah.
Creeper Cuomo? Like, really? Or not Cuomo, but Eric Adams?
Or either one of them. Either one of them. They're both
Either one of them,
criminals.
exactly. I'm just... what? I mean, 43, again, like I said, 36. That's not a close race. That's a wipeout.
And it is. Well,
like, Eric Adams didn't even scratch any of that, probably because he didn't even seek the nomination, but whatever.
no, he didn't seek the nomination. He's running as an independent because he pretty much blew it with his crimes that he committed. But whether or not this Mondami wins or not, I think the Democrats need to take a look, and they're getting a little nervous about it. Democratic voters are getting tired of the same old people coming up. Whether this guy is Muslim, whether this guy is an immigrant or whatever he is, the fact of the matter is they should get the signal. They want younger people. Younger people that they want change, and they also want somebody who's going to do something for the middle class. The Republicans certainly aren't, and many of the Democrats won't. So this is why everybody's flitting around so much about this guy, because he's doing something totally different. Fortunately, he's doing the fucking right thing, and it's working. So that should maybe give these people a hint.
That
I mean,
guy he was running against. Sorry, go ahead.
Look who was pissed off when he won, and then look who funded Cuomo's campaign. That right there is enough to let me know that he's doing the right thing. But we know who's on the wrong side when you see Democrats teaming up with these racist Republicans. Have you seen that shit they've been posting? It's crazy. I think that's an indication right there of what it's about. It's about money and racism at the end of the day. Period.
Yeah.
And that's Democrats as well as Republicans.
Absolutely.
That's the important thing to understand.
Eric
it's about-
Adams and
about money.
Mondami went on one of those. I can't remember who it was. A late night talk show. I can't remember who it was, but they said we endorse each other. Like, no matter which one of us wins, we endorse each other. They literally endorsed each other because they know that, like, change has to happen, and one of them is going to do it. Whoever the public votes for, they're going to support each other, and I think is freaking amazing. And they know that, like, they need to we need change, and I actually am super happy that Mondami got it.
Yeah, me too.
I am too. I don't know if he's going to win the mayoral position. I don't really
It's
care.
New York
I don't
City.
live
Are
in.
you kidding me?
I don't live in New York, so it really doesn't. I don't really have a dog in the fight, but I do like the signaling of getting younger people in a position to be elected to office, whether it be a mayor's position or a representative's position or whatever. The Democrats got to wake up and understand that's what they need to do. They're struggling, saying, "Oh, what are we going to do? How are we going to do this?" Get younger people that want to help other people, and will say that and will show them how they're going to do that. We got many Democrats that talk a good game, but they're getting money from the oligarchs just like the Republicans. We can't trust them. They need to go.
Rebecca, did you see Mendami when he did the debate? And I didn't understand why Republicans were so upset about his American First answer when they said, where would you go as your first day as mayor? And they all kept saying Israel, Israel, Israel. And he's like, I'll just go to the 5 boroughs because I'm here for New York. I'm here for America. Like, that'll be like my 5th stop, but I'm trying to handle Americans first and what we are going through here. I did not expect Republicans to get upset about that, but they were pissed. Rebecca, did you see that?
I did see that, and you know what? I lived in New York City and surrounding areas for 17 years, and if you think that he's not going to win, you're a fool, because they want change, and he's the freaking answer, and it's going to be a landslide. He's going to win.
Yeah, he's going to sweep them out.
They know it, so that's why they're freaking out about it then.
Exactly.
Trucker T is asking, Mike, what do you think about the Republicans trying to deport him? I don't even know if that's a reasonable thing. They're going to talk that shit just to give the perception. But can they even deport somebody like him? I mean, he's a naturalized citizen. They'd have to take that away from him.
It's like them arresting a senator. Like, it's going to be a riot, and it's going to be huge, and it's going to be really. I mean, that's going to start a lot of shit because a lot of people are behind him. A lot of people.
Yeah, and when they talk about we got to deport him, that tells me one of two things. They know he's the most popular, and if they can get him out of it, then the Republican maybe has a chance. A Republican governor in New York, I find that hard to imagine. But at the same time, they're also terrified of this guy because he's contrary to this bending over backwards for the wealthy, and he's talking about giving stuff back to the middle class. Oligarchs don't want to hear that shit. They don't like that. But I got news for the oligarchs. Times are changing. This country is becoming younger. The younger people have more control. Whether you like it or not, that's the way it's going to go.
Yep.
Hey,
all right, I'm going to go ahead.
Can you guys hear me okay? I had some audio problems earlier.
Yes.
Now we can.
Yeah, we can hear you. We can hear you fine right now.
Okay.
I'm going to pull. I'm going to pull
I
up
almost like you
Oliver's
better
mom.
with the audio problems.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jay.
Yeah. With the audio problems, you were quite compelling. Anyway, Oliver's mom is with us. She's got something to say. What's up?
I was looking at a lot of the stuff with the parliamentarian for the Senate who's going over that bill, and
I love it.
Picking out things that she disagrees with, and some of them are beautiful. Some of them are absolutely beautiful, the things that she's pulling out. But my concern is that I'm not sure the Senate has to accept her suggestions. Do you know?
I don't
know that for sure.
I don't think they have to accept it, but it opens up just a shitload of fucking lawsuits.
Yeah.
And that's going to cause a delay in time, and they don't have time.
Nope.
Right.
Donald Trump wants this thing signed on July 4th, which is next week. That's not going to happen. And the other thing about it is if they shut this parliamentarian down and they try to fire her or whatever, that's tantamount to getting rid of the filibuster. So they might like it now for the moment, but in 2026, not having the filibuster may be a problem for them. So I think they're going to think pretty hard before they really do anything to override this parliamentarian. I mean, they'll talk shit and they'll make threats,
Right.
But I don't know that there's anything they can do.
The Senate leader stated that he's not open to doing it, but that's
Right.
what he's saying right now. So I think as long as he is saying that, that option isn't on the table.
No.
Well, and
Well,
honestly, can I say something? Sorry.
Sure.
But the Electoral College, there just needs to be an amendment to the Electoral College. Our representatives should be beholden to what the people want. of that state. The only reason why the Electoral College exists is to protect the single voter from the masses. Yeah?
Right. Well, yeah, it was valuable at one time, but it's
Yeah.
antiquated.
Yeah.
It's
And it
archaic
needs to
now.
be amended. If the majority of the people in that state wants their representative to vote a certain way, they should not be allowed to vote against the will of the people.
Well,
That's
I will
the
tell you this,
amendment, I
Angie.
think.
It's like term limits and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
The only way you're going to get that to happen is if Congress votes for it. They're not going to vote for term limits. They might vote to get rid of the Electoral College only if the Democrats are in power, because the only reason Republicans win is because of that Electoral College. If it
Yeah.
was the popular vote, they'd be in fucking trouble.
Exactly. That's why I think there needs to be amendment to that Electoral College. That's why.
Well, we need Democratic control to do that, though. So we better get on the fucking
I
bicycle and make sure
I
we have that
know.
on
It's blowing at the
2026.
wind right now. Damn it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Go ahead, Oliver's mom. I know you got other stuff.
Yeah, I mean, some of the things that she's recommended is that they should not eliminate the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, which is one of the things that's in there. The Postal Service having to sell all their electric vehicles. That's actually in the bill. And she suggested that go away. And then there's the one about contempt, that the administration can still be held in contempt of things.
Yeah.
That she feels that's something that needs to be removed from the bill, that saying that the administration can't be held in contempt. I think with some of the things that she's addressing there, and I actually think that the ruling from the Supreme Court on the federal districts having to each individually possibly bring up something instead of it, one district applying to the whole country. I think that might be good, because then the administration is going to have to fight all these different districts in court, not just one district addressing the whole country. So, if we've got however many districts we have, and now instead of one district, saying something, and they go, oh, well, we're all going to say it. So now there's all those different cases instead of just one case on an issue. And, that's just going to tie up the administration trying to fight all those. So that could be a good thing there.
Well, I think the budget bill is in deep trouble.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be changed coming out of the Senate, going back to the House, if it comes out of there at all. And the House, you're going to get half the people not wanting to sign on to it because they pretty much cannibalized the bill. These people can't get along. They can't agree on anything, and they've got a short time limit to hit it. They're not going to hit it because, as I've said before, when it comes to Donald Trump, well, here's three things you can guarantee: death, taxes, and Donald Trump and the Republicans will fuck it up every time. That's something you can count on.
Yeah.
Oliver, Mom, that's a really good way of looking at it, because it's like, okay, so now they put themselves in a position to have to put out a bunch of fires instead of one fire.
Exactly.
I didn't look at it
Right.
that way, but that's a really good way of looking at
Yeah,
that.
I had thought about that a little bit. It just makes sense that now they're going to have to, like you said, put out a bunch of fires instead of one on an issue.
Yeah, absolutely.
I personally don't think they're going to pass a budget bill until Trump's not there anymore.
Yeah, it's going to take a while.
And I don't know if you guys watch Under the Desk News. I do. I love her so much. She went to the convention for AI and stuff, and people don't realize how much AI is involved. It's involved in all fields, medical, everything. It's involved in what I do.
Yeah.
They use AI.
Well, AI is going to take away more jobs than our immigrants.
Oh, it
take
already
away,
has. It already has.
Yeah.
And I feel
Even
for
the
that.
storytellers aren't safe.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, and then
Exactly.
if you fill out a resume, that AI is going to read your resume as if it is a computer, not a human person.
Right.
That is a concern.
It's going to look for keywords and all that kind of stuff.
It is.
Yep.
It is. Your resume better be dictated to adhere to an AI version than a human.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
And
just weird.
yep, it is. And one of my other things, we were talking about all the facilities that are being built, and I'm down here in Florida, and DeSantis is promoting and trying to build alligator Alcatraz down here.
I saw that. Oh
Yeah.
my God.
It is really some
What
of the
does
things like
alligator Alcatraz mean? I'm sorry. What?
they're
Yeah,
gonna.
we talked
He
about
wants
that
to build
earlier.
a detention center down here, literally in a airstrip in the Everglades,
Oh,
and it's basically
Oliver's
going to
mom,
be.
what's the thought? And I know when I saw that on television, he's so proud giving a tour of that place. I felt disgusted. But how are Floridians taking it? Like, what are they thinking?
They're
Um,
Floridians. They're not thinking at all.
well, no, that's not true
no.
because I'm a
I
Floridian,
mean, I don't
but
believe
I'm
that.
outnumbered. So, I
I
mean,
read r/Florida man to know everything I know about Florida. Okay,
yeah,
forgive me. I'm probably biased.
yeah. But they basically, it's going to be heavy duty tents and trailers, and so it's going to be hot as hell.
Oh, so he's keeping them outside.
Yeah, we're talking
Oh,
What
about
does
a
heavy
lot of
duty
insects
tents
and
and
mosquitoes
trailers
and stuff like
mean?
that because we're talking
man.
about being in the Everglades. Um, they're saying that the sanitation is going to be bad. The getting food in and out is going to be bad. It's going to be very difficult to maintain and handle. And another one of the things that they look at is what do you do during a hurricane? How do you
Yeah.
evacuate the 40,000 people that it's expected to hold?
Yeah.
With an impending hurricane.
I did not
It's
know
going to be
You,
all of
hard.
that.
Well, it
you
goes
know
kind of
what?
with healthcare. There's no shelters. There's no facilities. There's nothing in place to prepare for any
Yep.
of this.
Yeah.
The
Yep.
There's
guy,
All
not
that's going to be
going to
bad
be.
too.
the
Is
guy in
it
the
going
It's
to?
comment.
just,
Is it
well,
just
look
more
at
than?
what's
Is it
happening
more
in
than one
Florida. The
facility?
insurance rates, you can't
Is
even
it
get
just one
insurance.
facility or more than one right now? Oliver's mom. Do you know how many he's going to put up?
From right now, I think it's just the one that I've heard of. But
Hmm.
he's trying to use land that's there, an airstrip that I don't think is being used for those purposes. And the other part of that is it's actually on Native American land. So there's a lot of issues there as to whether or not he's even going to be able to do it because of that.
He's
Kim,
sadistic.
I was asking earlier, like that like, do you think that's going to be like a work camp? Do you think they're going to use the people that are in that camp to farm the fields?
Well, I don't see how they're going to be able to get him in and out properly. Like I said, it's in the middle of the Everglades. So
Yeah.
it's, basically DeSantis went on TV saying, it's no big deal if somebody escapes, they're not going to be able to go anywhere because,
So,
they step
so
off
he's not even utilizing their like he's not even
no.
Well,
doing it
that
right.
means he's
Yeah,
never
but
been to the
yeah, but
Everglades and
yeah,
even
he
experienced it,
comments that
really.
if they step off that island into the actual swampy Everglades, that the alligators will just get them.
This
That was a comment he actually made.
Which is
Wow.
weird because that is actually what has happened throughout history. People have been dropped in areas where that happens, and they just dropped them there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're
this
all eaten by alligators, man.
okay. So this is the same guy, keep in mind, who signed a bill letting Florida's roads be paved with toxic waste.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that this is the same guy that I call him Ron DeSatan instead of Ron
Yep.
DeSantis.
Mm-hmm.
Same.
And to be honest, somebody earlier in the chat had it right, where he said Trump can spend some time there. As far as I'm concerned, at least take some comfort in that. These guys are probably building the same prisons that are going to hold them eventually.
Well, and that's
Yeah,
what's
that's
messed
probably
up,
true.
dude. They're focused on building prisons instead of making it better for people not to be in that prison.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
here's another thing that I got from the article I read on this. Okay. Florida is going to put the money out for the daily running and operations of this prison camp, whatever you want to call it, but they're supposed to be reimbursed by FEMA.
Yeah.
So the money to reimburse Florida for running this prison is going to come out of FEMA.
Which
What? I
barely
did
exists
not
now
know
because
that.
those destroyed it.
What the hell?
A prison? A
Yeah,
prison is going to be endorsed by FEMA.
Well, not necessarily endorsed, paid for.
Oh my
The
gosh.
funds are going to somehow come out of
Oh
FEMA. And the
my
thing of it is,
god.
in the article, they
I'm
don't
sure the
say it
5 people
as
left at FEMA are not on board with that.
yeah, but they don't, and
The
they
five
don't say
people
it as
left.
FEMA in the article because most people would pick up it on as FEMA. They say it completely out, the Federal Emergency Management Agency. So
You know what
if
the
you're not paying attention, you don't see it as FEMA.
I'm about to earn my name as the resident troublemaker because you want to know what the 5 people left at FEMA said? FEMA, fucking eat my ass.
Ah.
Yep.
So let's go from the fire to the frying pan. If you get me taken down, Jay, I'm gonna take you down. Anyway,
I don't doubt it. I don't doubt that. I don't
Well,
doubt
you
that.
guys, I just want to reiterate. Okay, I live on the Nez Perce Indian Reservation. Do you think the police and ICE can discern whether somebody is a Nez Perce Indian or a Mexican illegal?
I don't think they care. I don't think they care. They
don't care.
they round them
don't
up
think
first
they
and
care
ask questions
either.
later.
Yeah.
They round them up first and ask questions later.
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, that shit ain't happening here. That shit is not happening where I'm at, and I'm in a very red state in Idaho. ICE is not here as far as I know. Fires are.
Yeah.
Now,
Well, I tell you what, we're coming to the end here. So I need the show closer. You would think that would be Jay, but no.
British John.
British John is back.
Boomer.
He was-
Thank you, National
I'm not
Boomer.
qualified to
Thank
close
you
this
so
show.
much.
How'd I know?
British
you
John,
all
we've been
for giving me a platform and other people to express ourselves.
No problem.
I thank you so very much, sir. You
all right. Thank you.
have been a gem.
Thank you.
So you.
That's one of you. That's one of you.
Last
British John is up,
Thank you,
and
Oliver's
British
mom. Like, thank you,
John.
Oliver's
I'm just
mom. I
gonna
appreciate the info.
I'm gonna say this, British John. I've been on for an hour and a half. I got maybe another 10 minutes. Don't fail me now. Please don't
Yeah.
fail me now.
he got me a violation when he was on my live. So
Are you
First
sure
of
that
all-
wasn't me?
First of all, let me just get it. I don't need Jay trying to do my job of getting this shut down. I don't need another damn immigrant trying to take my job. Okay? Just
Yeah, true.
knock
I'm
it
not-
off.
I got you. I got you. Well, he's actually Californian. He's running to Canada, so he's a foreigner in Canada.
I'm an emigrant with an E.
Oh, you're a
Yeah.
quitter. All right. Fair enough. All right, so let me be serious. I got some jokey stuff for you, and I got some serious stuff for you. I heard you guys talking about New York. So I have been writing about that. So AOC's apprentice just bulldozed Cuomo like he was a pothole in Queens. Cuomo
Wow.
spent $7 million to lose to a man who probably brings Tupperware to rallies.
Yeah,
Zoran
here
knocked
you
on
go.
1.5. Zoran knocked on $1.5 million. Cuomo knocked on his brothers for sympathy. Cuomo was backed by billionaires, ex-presidents, and the ghost of political relevance. Still lost.
Yeah.
Madani's campaign slogan might as well have been "Hope, Change, and a Free Metro Card."
Yeah.
Where was it? My favorite one was Trump called him 100% lunatic, which means Zohan is officially endorsed by reality.
Yeah.
that's kind of true.
Yeah, this is. These are the things. I also wrote some about the NATO summit, which I don't think I heard any of you guys talk about. Trump was at NATO like your drunk uncle at a wedding, loud, sweaty, and demanding everyone raise their defense spending.
It's too embarrassing to think about those NATO summits.
And NATO leaders, well, funny you should say that. NATO leaders butted him up so hard it's a miracle he didn't slip off the podium.
Yeah. Yeah. He was. He was embarrassing.
A little bit of a complicated one for you intellectuals. He walked in like Mussolini at a fashion show and left with half of Europe calling him daddy. Freud just threw himself out of a window. Um,
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah,
yeah, that's
the
yeah, that's a
the
reacher.
the thing that annoys me about that whole thing is that NATO knew that they had to increase, their funding based upon the GDP of each country. And so they did that and they increased the spending. And then Donald Trump said, "Oh, I got them to increase it to 5% instead of 3%." Fuck you, motherfucker! It wasn't you that did that. Like
What
No.
was
the alliance agreed that they had to increase spending because Donald Trump is destabilizing the whole fucking world.
Yeah.
what
Tell us how you
was
really
Right?
feel, TJ.
Yeah,
what
so
was
of course they have to increase it because this dumb motherfucker is destabilizing the entire fucking world.
Well,
what was so funny is when he actually said, "And of course you're going to be buying American."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Buying
Um,
American what?
no.
that's going to be. I don't know if you
You
know
can't
this,
even
but
get PPEs here in America.
He hasn't
it's
learned anything from what was that,
No.
Liberation Day and what happened afterwards. He hasn't learned anything from that. He's ready to do it all over again.
Well,
Yep.
I just think that Trump is existentially showing America how messed up and how the oligarchs are not for you.
Yeah.
it's
I cannot stand Trump. He can't
John,
even sorry my dogs. Damn it.
Oh,
John, let me ask you a question. Let me ask John a question. The fact that Mondami won in New York, I don't know if he'll win the mayoral election or not, but don't you feel that that's kind of a signal to the Democrats, what Democrats truly want? I mean, he won in a big way. He's a young man. He's not experienced, and people are just tired of the business as usual when it comes to politics.
couple of different things, and I'll try and tie them together. First of all, the fact that he built such a unique coalition that
Yeah.
needs to be taken notice of. Interestingly, he did not win the African American vote outright, which
no.
would normally how the Democrats do. But he brought out a lot of young people who've never voted before. He brought out people from a very diverse community, including the Jewish vote. Let's not forget. They were like, it's an interesting situation. The billionaire hedge fund manager, whose name I forget right now, saying he will back anyone to come up against him. That didn't at all sound like a word I cannot use. Not one little bit. Just Bill Ackerman. Yes. Hi, Bill. In case someone's screen recording this and wants to end my career, thank you so much. Um, yeah, that was interesting. Because could he ruin New York? Yeah, I mean, if the current mayor hasn't done his best to do that, I really don't know. To sell out your soul for premium economy flights on Turkish Airlines, that is a level we've not seen before. But he created it. Basically, he created a coalition that didn't exist before, and he brought together so many. That they did not want Cuomo. I mean, that's the big thing is we don't want the old guard. That was the real
Status
takeaway.
Cuomo.
Yeah, they didn't want that. And also, in the House, they just elevated somebody under the age of 50 to one of the ranking senior roles. I've
Right.
forgotten.
Garcia, yeah.
Yep.
I'm like,
Garcia.
so maybe someone turned their hearing aid on briefly. We'll see what happens between now and the primary, whether Democrats will truly support him or whether they're going to clutch their pearls and hold their noses. But if you look at this in historic terms, when a country swings as far to the right as America has recently, there is always an equally big swing to the left immediately following it. Call it
Yep.
it's a swing of regret,
Yep.
as opposed to J, which is a swing of a Vietnamese sex swing. Anyway, different situation.
What the
I'll hush now.
hell?
Here comes the violation.
What
Here
the
comes
hell?
Well, no, no, British John, I want to bring something up because I've said that too, that I liken where we are with the far right is if you drive in the winter in Minnesota and you're driving down the road and you start sliding to the right, going to the right ditch, the first thing you do is crank it all the way left.
Yep.
And then it
Yep.
goes all the way left. And then you crank it all the way right. And it takes some time to get back to the middle. But the natural response from a radical right is a radical left. I really believe that that's what's going to have to happen in order to right the ship ultimately.
I also, and I was actually just reading this is a weird sentence, reading a very interesting article on the use of Medicaid in Alaska. Over one third of Alaskans are on Medicaid and rely upon it for their primary health insurance, and over 50% of children. And and also SNAP benefits because food is very expensive there. Don't know if you tried
Yeah.
growing wheat in the Arctic Circle. Not a winner.
No.
Mm. So it's going to be, if they do get this big, beautiful bastard, sorry, Bill, through, through, those effects are going to, the way the Senate has framed it, those effects are going to be felt within the first 6 months.
Yeah.
So that's gonna change it. Mikowski's threatening to both change a name to something people can pronounce and spell, but also go independent. So,
Yeah.
is she part of that change? Will Susan Collins find a spine that she can live with?
Doubt it.
No.
I don't know.
These are these are interesting. Here's an interesting one. Alaska has the highest. I was reading. This was in the New York Times. Alaska has the highest rates of tuberculosis and STDs.
Wow.
So we know how they're keeping warm. Is what I'm
Yeah.
thinking here.
They
That's
beat the villages.
yeah.
They
That
beat the
is.
villages.
In fact,
I was gonna say, how's that possible? It's dark all the time.
I
Well,
think you may have
Maybe
just
that,
answered.
I think that's your answer.
TJ, they're not all. TJ, ask your wife. Sometimes it has to be dark for those things to happen.
No.
yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Well, it depends on who you
Um,
are, when you are, and how old you are. But, to be honest with you, somehow the STD raging in Alaska is a little more palatable when I think about it than what might be happening in the villages. I don't even want to think about that shit.
so
and
let
for the
me.
person,
Florida, all the way around, I just feel so bad for the people in Florida. I've been there a few times, and I hear the horror stories, but the people I work with in Florida are good people, and they don't deserve what they're going through.
So let me talk to something serious for a moment before we come back to why Jay asked if the Vietnamese sex queen could take a 400-pound load. Um,
I didn't. That's
the
not what I said.
I didn't know if that was you. I didn't know if that was you, your partner, or combined. I didn't ask, and I'm not asking now either.
There's no one
Good
else in
job,
here
John.
with
Good job.
me.
But the 14th Amendment. So I put a video up about this because I am potentially affected by this. I am British. I've lived in California for 15 years. I'm married to an American, and I do have an 8-year-old daughter who was born here in America. Now, I don't think anything's going to happen because I'm not that different a shade to my T-shirt that I'm wearing, and
Right.
I'm not the problem that Trump's worried about. But it is. That's all the people that told me the 14th Amendment wasn't for my people. I'm like, so here's the thing. What we've
From
decided
Denmark.
is we have shitty. You're only affected if your attorney general for your state did not file a motion against the executive order. So
Right.
basically, from now on, you will have constitutional protection only if you don't live in a shitty state.
That's true.
This is, I can't imagine that the agrarian founders thought this, just don't see the framers thinking of it this way, if indeed attorney generals even existed at that point.
Well, not for nothing, John, but the founders did not think that we would ever have a felon as a freaking.
I'm guessing.
Here,
I'm
so.
guessing attorney generals was a military term back then.
I mean,
Could be.
technically, Hamilton was one. He was both an attorney and a general.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
So,
The question I have, British John, is from your point of view, from California, coming from Britain, or UK. Do we survive this whole thing? I think we do. I think we've survived things similar to this, and oftentimes we come out the other side based on what you were saying, going the fast swing to the left in order to get out of the far right. I think we come out of this. It may take some time and it may take some pain, but I think we end up coming out of this better because the Republicans have proven how draconian they fucking are, and people will just have enough at some point.
First of all, before I answer that question fully, let's remember that this week Mitch McConnell said get those Medicaid cuts in soon so that people will get over them.
Yeah, true.
That hasn't received enough attention. Here's the problem. He's right. Stupid people have short memories.
Yep.
I can't remember who told me that. Oh, that's right. My wife said I was the one that was stupid. But anyway, it's that's a serious issue, and this is like Obama. Don't take away my health care. Well, what about Obamacare? Oh yeah, I don't need that. There are too many people that fit into that category of I don't want Obamacare. Wait, don't take away my health care.
Yeah.
There's too many, so they could do this. Now, I am a lover of history. That's because I'm now 49 years old, and that's my favorite channel.
Yeah.
But do we come out of it? I think we come out of it different. Do I
No
think
question.
there's going to be some unifying president next time that's going to be, sorry to say this, but Reagan-esque, somebody that can actually bring the left and right together with charisma,
Right.
and a good smile? I don't think social media will allow for that. I don't think that person exists. Is it? Will we learn from this experience? I think what makes America unique is the states. I call my my TikTok videos, most of them the American experiment, and it is. And it's because the states are so powerful, and they do
Yeah.
have so much autonomy, and that's why you have such difference in taxation between them. But as well as difference in taxation, there is difference in provided services.
Right.
And I think Americans are going to, when things are taken away, they're going to understand that things have to be paid for and they have value. And it's that to be, you don't realize you needed it until you lose it.
Right.
Like Jay's virginity, for instance. Anyway,
Well,
I
someday.
heard that.
Someday.
That.
Well, British John, I want to say this. You said people will forget about things, and you're absolutely right. A perfect illustration of that is prior to the election on November 5th, I thought nothing else had to happen other than overturning Roe v. Wade. That would affect so many people, they wouldn't forget about it, and they're not going to vote for somebody who did that. Well, I was fucking wrong.
the problem is, it's not that they did, and again, it's not that they voted for him. It's the 3 million people who didn't turn up and vote. That's
True.
Trump didn't win this election. The Democrats lost it,
Right.
unequivocally, and I've had time to think about this even more. Um, I think he's a wonderful person, who's a great statesman, and he's an absolute asshole, Joe Biden. I'm sorry, but hubris is affecting over 100 million people right now,
Yeah, I
and
agree.
most of them aren't educated to a level where they know what that word means. So, sorry, that's a British John joke there. They're not all funny, but then your education system didn't equip you for them. Um,
Exactly. I thought hubris was a Subaru, but that goes. I've got a
no,
more
that's
simple.
no. Hubris is the hairy version of what drives them, but the different
Yeah.
situation. Is one of Jay. Hubris is one of Jay's favorite Pornhub categories. Anyway, different conversation. Um,
Wow.
no,
I'm
it's
not going to take the
this.
bait this time.
Thank you.
Not talking about what you like watching on the fishing channel. But I thought anyway. I'm going to leave that. It's too easy. Much like Jay, but no, it's these are. I think the states are what's going to make the difference, and we're going to see that now because people. I don't think the 14th Amendment thing is going to happen, but I do think there's going to be other things that are going to happen, and it's going to be recognizable which states stood up for their people.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. We have to mention this. Can we talk about briefly about? And I know you want to go. the Texas lieutenant governor who got run over by the governor in his wheelchair this week? Can we
Yeah.
just can we talk about the craziness where all of a sudden the only governor to never stand up for the national anthem, I'm not questioning his patriotism, um,
What the fuck?
um,
It's so fucked
literally,
up.
That's
literally,
just fucked. That's fucked up.
just like his
True.
spine.
It's
Um,
true.
he
I mean,
wasn't look. He wasn't using his spine politically. Why use it for walking? So
oh my
Yeah.
god.
so what are you talking about that when Governor Abbott becomes the liberal side of conservative politics this week? I, we got Governor Abbott potentially endorsing um, um, gardening. Gardening. I was trying to find the word, boys and girls.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not getting taken down for that. I mean, that
Yeah.
is.
I had Jace on the show yesterday, and he's from San Antonio, and we talked about it pretty extensively, and that was just a joke. Basically the that particular bill, he thought that Abbott would either ignore it, vote for it, or veto it, and they didn't think he'd veto it, and he did because there's a lot of pressure, a lot of money being made in that industry in Texas, and it pissed off Dan Patrick, the lieutenant governor, and he stood up, and this wuss stands up and says, "I'm mad about this. We're going to fight it. We're going to do this, but I'm not mad at Greg Abbott." Well, he vetoed it. Who else are you mad at, you dumb shit?
Here's the thing, and I gotta be careful who I call out on this one. So when he said businesses aren't going to come to Texas if they think that all our people are on that stuff getting guys, like I got news for you. All those tech companies that move to Texas, we don't drug test. We just don't do it. Trust
Right.
me, we don't test for a reason. We know the results already. Okay, there is California sober is pretty normal around here.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I just found that absolutely hilarious. I never do this, but I want to pimp something. I can't believe I'm doing this. I have a stupid show called Shot Collar Comedy. I have 8 comedians doing 3 minutes of material each, wearing shot collars. We put it on hiatus in August. It's coming back 2 shows in San Diego to coincide with Comic Con. So if you want free tickets to the National Lampoon's Yellow Door Comedy Club in San Diego on the 24th and 25th of July, just hit me in the DMs. If you're a friend of the Boomer, you're a friend of the Shot Collar Show, and yet it's as dumb as
Well,
it sounds.
Unless you're
well,
me.
yeah, it sounds so dumb that I might steal that idea for the show. And Jay, I would just say, prepare yourself because you're going to get shocked a lot. You're going to get shocked a lot.
I get shocked every day these days, Mike.
Yeah,
How
no, I
much
get
worse
it.
can it
I
get?
it.
I'm
That's
just reading
true.
Harry Mellon knows exactly what I'm talking about. We do not seriously. We haven't cured autism. What we have done is I found a way to keep it calm and let it get some sleep, and then crank out amazing code. It's just like,
Yeah,
yeah.
As
absolutely.
someone
Well, I'm
with
going to wrap.
autism, I can actually laugh at that. That's funny. That's good.
I'm going to wrap things up. We're beyond the time, and
Wait.
I always have a good time doing this. Thank you to everybody who
One
joined
second.
us. TJ, Rebecca, Old Soul, Jay, British John, Oliver's mom. Jay, what are you interrupting me again? Fuck.
I'm sorry. I got to ask Old Soul a question real quick.
Go ahead, Jay. I'm here.
I don't
And
think we've
thank you,
ever.
Oliver's mom. I just wanted to say that before I forgot. Go ahead.
Sorry. Have we ever been on the podcast together? Because we should do that sometime. I've done it with Eric and I've done it with Will, but I don't think I've done it with you yet. 'Cause I
Yeah,
feel like
yeah. I'm down for it. I'm getting ready to take a trip when I'm back. Let's
Yep.
do it.
Jay's discriminating against me now.
What?
Yep. Jay's discriminating against TJ the plumber and producing my fucking show. Way to go, Jay.
It's for a good reason, Jay. I got you.
I told you I was a troublemaker when I hopped in here.
Yeah, you absolutely did, and
I
and
personally
we knew
think
that.
we need a TJ the plumber in an Old Soul show.
That's
Could do that.
Yeah.
It'll be fun.
Could do
Yeah.
that too.
It'll be
I'm
fun
all
with
for
all
it.
of you. It really would be.
Remember-
Rebecca, did you look up our counterintelligence Chief, the young guy with the eyebrow.
With the eyebrow,
yeah.
he's only got a unibrow.
No, he's
Remember, Jay, a good screw starts with a screw that goes into a load-bearing wall.
Oh,
I don't even know what that means, so I'm going to go.
that's filthy.
All right. Thank you all for joining us, and everybody who showed up otherwise that's not here now. Thank you for taking the time. Those of you listening, thanks for taking the time to do that. I hope you have a great day.
And
We'll
fuck
talk to you
Maggie.
again tomorrow.
Good night, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Good
Bye,
night.
everyone.